Welcome to the Berks Homes podcast, the business of building homes. I'm Katie. I'm here with my brother Ben, and today our topic is it's all in the family.
Yeah.
We were lucky enough to start incorporating smarter people than us to give us ideas of things to talk about. And this happens to be a topic that someone else brought up, kind of asking, it looks like there are a lot of people in your family who have their own businesses, who have a little that entrepreneurial spirit in there. And then we really took a hard look at it and realized it really comes honest to everyone in our family.
Right. Well, mostly one side, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just thought this would be a quick little fun topic because in reality, I do think that entrepreneurs are both, you're born that way, but that doesn't mean that everybody's predisposed to a certain, entrepreneurial bent.
Yeah, you can have that type of personality but not be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Or not and be one.
Exactly. I mean, there's a ton of, I would say, like learned entrepreneurs, right? I mean, think about all the doctors
that run their own
the
practices.
Lawyers.
Yeah.
And typically, I mean, very much generalizing, but a lot of those professional practices, they would say themselves that they're not born entrepreneurs, but, they need to incorporate.
Yeah.
So anyway, why don't you go back in history and looking at our family tree, talk a little bit about, where it came from.
Yeah. Well,
more on Dad's side.
Yeah. What was really cool was last year at some point we did video viewing party.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
Yes, yeah.
And one of our distantly related cousins did a movie feature, basically, about the history of our family.
Right.
And
the Bhorning family.
Yeah. And it started with our great-grandfather and his kind of farm homestead. And, I mean, obviously, that's your own business. And what branched off from there are so many privately held businesses that came from that family.
Yeah, and a lot of it's centered around real estate.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Especially because as we get into Dad's story, and we've talked about that certainly wasn't like, that was on his own.
Yeah.
And...
well, it's no home building.
Right, construction was never really a big portion of it. It's a lot of real estate holdings, like owning, renting, that kind of thing. Yeah. Transactions. But yeah, so
from that side, that one family branch alone, we've got great uncles and uncles that still have farming conglomerates at this point.
Right. Yeah.
That have real estate holdings, like what kind of rentals?
Lots of rentals, like mobile home parks are big,
right,
for that side of the family. Massive, massive real estate holdings, and everybody in the family is very similar in the sense of, you wouldn't say sophisticated, but like business smart.
Yeah,
just knows how to do it.
You pick the one thing that you have a knack for, and just run it into the ground your whole life.
Right. Right.
And it's just like clockwork, okay? This thing, I bought this piece of property, made a lot of money renting it out, doing everything myself. I'm going to do 2, now 20, now 50.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Right.
Yeah. It's really interesting that it's the same practicality and the same, a lot of rolling up the sleeves.
Yeah, a lot of hard work, a lot of do-it-yourself type people, and never really willing. This is where Dad's a little different, I think, than some. Most of them are never willing to go outside of, a couple things, what they do well.
Diversify.
Right.
Or delegate.
Right. And, Dad always was pretty good at that. And even though by and large, he's extremely conservative financially with most of his life, he's always willing to take calculated risks.
Well, and that's a theme too, is once you've got your pattern down and you know where you win, you can take those calculated risks. And that is something that is just very prevalent throughout our entire family on all sides.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. So I can, without naming names, and because
We did not ask permission.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly the relation specifically, but we'll just say uncles, real estate brokerage, well, cousin that was big into real estate, owned many brokerages, title companies, mortgage companies, other uncles, lots of real estate holdings, farm, lots of land, farming, and then a farm agency.
Yeah.
If you're local, everybody kind of knows Horning Farm Agency. That's like our one relative that's around here. There's not a lot of Hornings, but that started between two of our great uncles. And basically what that is an auction house, whatever. They sell real estate specifically and appraise farms and auction big properties.
That, I think, was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Is seeing them be the auctioneer.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, we have an uncle who, he can do the whole auctioneer
He's
thing.
so good at it.
So good. And those two brothers, those would be my dad's uncles. They were in business for many, many years and still have land holdings and mobile home parks and stuff like that. And then it was interesting because getting into our grandpa, who was a serial entrepreneur.
Yes. He just loved the ideas.
Yeah. So Dad's dad, they were different. And what was the difference between Grandpa and Dad? Like the main thing that you see?
Probably the practicality.
Grandpa was a little more of a dreamer.
Yeah. And I mean, he had really he was very creative.
Yeah.
In his own right.
And one of the most well-read people you'll ever meet.
Yes.
Books upon books upon books upon books.
So he was more of the, on paper.
Yeah. And quick start.
And then just do it and try it, trial and error type thing.
Right.
Where Dad was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this until I do it well.
Yeah. Or it fails and then I'll do something else.
Right. And not let it go too far.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
Moving on. But he's a process guy. He's a detail guy. So he would beat it to death to make sure it was viable.
And that's, I think, when it comes down to it, the measure of success is really going to be if you can add the practicality.
Right.
To anything in the application. And that's why I would say so many people in our families are successful, is because they are just very measured and practiced and simple and don't complicate it and do, honestly, it's the easy button and just the reps. And it's the things that we've been talking about so much. We didn't pull that out of thin air.
Right.
That's
a DNA thing.
Right. And it's a lifetime of watching. We have so many examples ahead of us of success and failure. It's kind of obvious at this point what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Long term, especially, because we're talking hundreds of years. We watched this video of people from the 1800s at this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, here's your formula to win, regardless of the timeline of the universe.
Well, it's kind of like the ultimate American business story, really, because that's one thing that we do know. We are very connected with our past because it's been well documented.
Yeah.
And ironically, this wasn't on purpose, but the original Horning farmstead is
right here
down the road. And we're not even like from this area, but they came over in the 1700s.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And so it's been hundreds of years, and we're saying all of this because I don't think we've really talked about it.
No, we haven't talked about why it's all in the family.
Why it makes sense to us.
For us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because you've been at networking events or whatever it is where you talk about family business, and we don't really necessarily always think about this as a family business, because it's just a couple of us.
Yeah.
It's a large company, but there's only a few of us. It's just, that's not what we've always thought. And we're only the second generation. So,
right.
Maybe that's why. But, the question always comes up, well, why? Why would you Why would you do this? Why would you get into this?
And I think the easy answer is that why wouldn't you? It's just what you do.
Yeah, it's what you do.
It's been in front of us our whole lives that if there's an opportunity that you know something about, take advantage of it, try it out, do it, get into the business.
And there's few. I mean, if you really think about it, and we're talking about both sides of our immediate family, there's few people who work for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and so it's like the owner-operator, mom's side.
Yeah, same thing.
And obviously dad's side. There's just not a lot of people
who have jobs
who work for somebody else. And so it's just all around.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I honestly...
Why wouldn't you?
I would think we'd be the odd man out.
Right. Yeah.
To not just kind of be involved in a business that you run.
Yeah. And I think the main tenets of that, I don't know if you want to call it a trait or, you know, something that inside of you, your DNA, that
you're Donna if you've watched Zootopia.
Okay. Yeah. Donna. But the main core pieces of that are wanting to basically win on your own. You know, not saying that we don't have a fantastic team, but be in control of your own destiny. You know, sink or swim, and embracing those results. You know, we've talked about this recently, where it's like I'd rather be driving the sinking ship than riding on it.
Right.
You know?
The ship isn't sinking, but if it was, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, you know, if things are going really well, it's just that much more gratifying. Right? And so I think when you look at our family, it's one of those things that it's just embedded. And I don't know if you would pluck our personalities out of the personality wheel and say they're perfect for entrepreneurial activities, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
You know.
The funny thing is about entrepreneurs or business owners is, yes, that personality type is definitely a factor, but you also look at people like us or like that and go, should they be in charge of things?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not because it's not that we're not suited to work very hard and lead things and run a business. It's more the chaos, the outward looking chaos doesn't look conducive to success, but I do believe that that's a portion.
It's a piece of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You cannot run a growing business. You can run a predictable business that's extremely orderly all along the way at a small scale if that's your personality.
Yeah.
There's a lot of business owners that desire very, very little growth and or expansion or change, right? And there's always a niche for those businesses. But in terms of like our business or this industry, that kind of thing, what it comes down to me, I always think nobody's going to care as much as I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like whether that's putting in extra work or thinking about it, and it's not stress, it's just what drives you.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
it's like
how your brain is wired to fixate on something.
Right.
And until it gets the solve or until it gets better or until you have the next move.
Yeah, play the game.
Yeah. That's why it's fun.
It's a game. A serious game.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say too is it is a game, but you also have to be willing to take on and shoulder the responsibility and the risk. And that was something that we came into this eyes wide open after seeing some of the failures in our family businesses and seeing some of the ups and downs and the toll it takes on people. You have to know that you're going to hit that patch and you've got to be okay with what that isn't, how that impacts you. You know, we had a front row seat watching Dad.
Yeah. So the Great Recession was, you know, whoever's listening to this was either seriously affected or knows somebody in any industry
Yeah.
that was seriously affected, 2008 to whatever. That was probably like really good timing for us developmentally.
Yeah.
Right.
Depends which way you look at it. For career-wise, absolutely. Like for learning.
Right.
Totally.
I just mean if this was going to be the path at some point, which at that point we didn't know, right?
Yeah. Get it over with first.
We weren't doing a lot of planning at that point in our lives.
True.
Still could work on that. However, when we look at the timing of it, I was a couple years, 3 years out of college. You were 5 years out of college. So, it was very formative to understand, since that's all we knew our whole lives was Dad owned a business. Our whole life, it was like the housing market was just like this, it was like swinging up. It was really formative in a good way, just because of the seriousness of the more you do, the more you risk.
Yeah.
The more you have at risk, the more whatever.
Well, even more, the bigger it is, the bigger the risk. And that's not financial.
Yeah.
We're talking impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
We're talking that can just stop right there. That's, to me, the biggest risk.
Well, yeah. And it's detaching it from money.
Exactly.
Because money comes and money goes.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do. And if you can separate that, the financial cloud from your mind of thinking about everything in terms of money.
Well, that's why I wanted to clarify it,
Yeah.
is to say that's not what we believe the risk is.
No.
It's not about
not
that at all.
No, it's your, really the biggest risk is the people.
Yeah. And not just the people that are employees here. It's our very own families. It's our partners. It's everyone that's in the industry that we help provide stability to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the part that I think we got to witness firsthand is how Dad navigated that for other people.
Right.
And understanding that is the responsibility that we take on.
Right.
Is making sure that we're watching out for everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's the number one piece when you're looking at, taking on anything big.
If you're willing to cash the checks when it's good, then you have to be willing to bear the brunt of all the worst stuff when it's bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's that risk reward ratio thing where, you might have that opportunity to do extremely well in certain times. But your hope is that everybody around you, they don't get hurt as bad.
Well, that's why I use the word stability.
Yeah.
Like we want to provide at least a measure of that for everybody else, 100%.
Yeah.
And what has been, again, I keep bringing it back to watching so many people in our families go through so many different situations. We've seen people have a lot and then lose a lot. And how they operated around it and the lessons that they've learned and seeing again.
Taught us.
That's what I'm saying.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are all valuable things, and you have to kind of put that in your pocket, and you don't really know when you're going to use it.
Right. Yeah. It's just part of your bag of tricks.
Right. And then you have the whole generational thing, which is something I think is really fascinating, where you have different desires than, possibly the generation previous to you.
Yeah.
Right. So Dad's immediate family, they were always, cruising around trying to find their way, when he was growing up, and, wasn't left with much to start with.
Yeah.
Right. So he was very motivated in that way, where for us, we didn't really have anything to want. We were starting with a clean slate. We had graduated, he didn't go to college.
Right.
He didn't have a degree. We had our degrees, and we were able to, we didn't feel the need to sprint out of, our youth necessarily.
Yeah, he had to grow up fast.
And achieve. And so the motivation is slightly different. It can be different. You can have the work ethic and have different motivations.
That's exactly right.
And then some of it also is around the business, like where the business is.
Yeah.
Right?
That it's matured to a certain point
Right.
where he had to grow it.
Yeah. So it's when he started, there was way more upside for us to do the percentage growth that he did. Would be like, we would be in the top 5 builders or something.
Yeah.
So you always have to ask yourself, like, okay, why? Or what? What do we want to do?
Yeah.
And I always think that's fascinating when you take that 20 minutes in your brain where you do it on your morning walks. I do it on my drive and stuff sometimes. And you're just like, well, what really motivates that next move? Sometimes it can be money.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just be looking around you and seeing the people that you're pulling for in your company.
Yeah.
You can go through a season where all you focus on is the growth of the human beings,
Yeah.
and maybe that's financial for them, or maybe it's just stability.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like, all I care about for a year is just consistency, and then maybe it's growth.
Yeah.
Because that's just a challenge you want to take on, or you have an opportunity.
Do you have an answer for that for right
Well,
now?
it changes.
Yeah.
I think as Dad's getting older and less involved, like my main concern has always been to not screw it up, number one.
Yeah.
Which is like a really generic, not really a goal, right? But that's like part of it is like, I don't have to be this pioneering, enterprising, quick starter. It's just, how do you make it better? That's always, a good place to start.
Yeah.
And then you also get into, well, Dad worked like a maniac for years and years and years.
Yes.
That was an example we had. And if anything, we have to scale back sometimes.
Well, that's ingrained in us, and it's not healthy.
Right. Yeah. 60, 70, 80-hour weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just not a sustainable lifestyle.
You can sustain it, but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. Yeah. And then so you have to ask yourself, well, what do I want? I love what we do, and I love working, and I could work every Saturday and probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't take a lot of vacation either, because I always have something to do. And so you do have to put some guardrails around your, like, who your, what your instincts are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
But that again is making sure you're being contemplative on your motivations and putting boundaries around them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, no matter how great of a person you are, your motivations are not the best driver.
No.
So you have to make sure you're motivated, but also intentional at the same time.
I can get motivated for 40 different reasons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you can be motivated to succeed for your coworkers for a period of time. You could be motivated for, I don't know, like usually for me, like financial motivation is just not, it's just a derivative of other things generally.
Yeah, I sent you something this week. It was basically like,
the
money comes. That's not about that. It has nothing to do with that. It's just about the success and the achievement of whatever you're passionate about.
Right.
It's like that's, and I think that for me is the number one motivator and reason is like, I'm excited about the possibilities.
Yeah,
There's
it's
so
always
many possibilities. It's like, let's see what we can do.
It's always the options that are intriguing.
Exactly.
And making note of the why is kind of secondary. But
not sure how we got there from family business, but
it's our family business. That's what we're talking about.
Bring it home. Yeah.
So it's in our DNA.
Yeah.
We wanted to make this short because I have a meeting.
You have a shout out?
I do have a shout out. So shout out to Natalie Roslin, who we've known for many years. Her husband, Joe, is our creative director.
Yeah, we gave him a shout out too.
Yeah.
Power couple
yes. Here. And so she started 6 months ago, maybe?
I think longer than that, but go ahead.
Yeah, like a while ago. And she's just such a pleasure to work with.
Yes.
You know, everybody loves Natalie because she's just so kind and helpful and organized and just so pleasant.
She makes you feel very important every time you talk about
Everybody,
to her.
yeah, everybody's so important to her.
I know. It's just always like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
I don't know why specifically I would shout her out, just other than she's just
a joy.
Awesome. Yeah. So.
No, that's probably the best time to do it, is just as a general appreciation for humans. Say, you know what?
Yeah.
She is just a great person.
Yeah.
To pass in the hallway and go, oh, I'm so glad she works here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it's great to have her. I'm so glad she's here after, Joe's been with us for
2004. Before that, he was a consultant for us.
20 plus years.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
All those years knowing her, and then she finally came over, so that's cool.
So grateful.
What's your challenge?
Yes, the challenge is, I like what you were saying about finding your motivation and your why, and I think we probably had a challenge like that before, but I like I'd like everybody to think about that. Why are you motivated in your job?
Right.
And if you're not, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Send Katie an email.
Please do. I love that stuff. I will find something to get you hyped about.
Yeah, we got a lot. We got a list. Couple lists.
If you are dissatisfied, I'm not joking here.
Yeah.
Send it my way, and I will maneuver whatever we have to.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. We probably won't do a podcast next week.
No, we will be traveling. So when we get back, we'll have some great things to be talking about, but we'll be skipping a week.
Yeah. Okay.
So see you in 2.
All right. See ya.
Have a good one.